Do I have to join it on here? I have it on here too. Oh, there's two admin.
We have our presenter in.
Check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Ah. Perfect. Come on, just. No. Yeah, it's not working. The light's coming on, but it's not forwarding. Oh, there it goes. Yes. Got it. Okay, we're all good? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. I should have sang this song. A, B, C, D, E. Forget you. All right, we're going to get started. Thank you so much for your patience with our technical setup, this being the first one in this room. I appreciate it. We've had a last minute change for this. I'll be the only presenter. So if you do know Edwin Sanchez Molina, my apologies, he won't be here today. But this is the presentation on the BPAC, Bilingual Parent Advisory Committee. And just to get us all on the same page, let me first introduce myself. My name is Penny Franzman. I work for the Illinois State Board of Education. I work in the multilingual department. I have been a bilingual ESL teacher. I have also had a previous career where I was an IT project manager. So I bring a lot of business and program and project knowledge into the multilingual department at ISB, and I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you so much for coming. And thank you for those of you that are joining us on Zoom. I appreciate you being here as well. At the end of the presentation, I'll have time to take some questions, so please hold on to them until then. All right, so first thing we want to do is just make sure that we're all on the same page about what BPAC stands for. Officially, in laws and regulations, it's the Bilingual Parent Advisory Committee. I like to shorten it because that's a mouthful, so I will be referring to it as BPAC throughout. All right, the agenda today is we're going to go through a couple of the rules and regulations for BPAC, resources for getting parents involved and keeping them engaged that we've seen that work around the state, and resources for running a hybrid BPAC. And now it's not working. This is fun. Thank goodness it's not being recorded or anything, right? We're all just, it's fine. Just keep it rolling? Okay. Okay, did we do slide 4 already? Slide 5? We did this one? No. This is slide 4? This is slide 5. Woohoo, this is gonna be fun because I can't really see it. Okay, so in the rules and regulations, there's a bunch of different things that are covered, and the highlights of what we'll cover today are who are BPAC members, what are the bylaws, what kind of training is involved, and then we'll go over some of the grants. You can go to the next slide. All right. So, when is a BPAC required by law? You heard Dr. Ayala say this morning if you were in there. When a school district has 20 or more students that are English learners and they speak the same language at home, the district is required to have a BPAC. They don't all have to be in the same grade, they just all have to be in the same school/district. The BPAC itself has to mostly be made up of bilingual parents who have children currently in the EL program. Is it okay if I refer to English learner as EL sometimes? Okay, all right. Teachers can join other school staff, and EL community leaders may also participate in the BPAC. You can go to the next slide. All right, so who comprises the BPAC? There needs to be a chairperson or a president, whatever you would like to call it, and that person must be a parent. It can't be a teacher, it can't be a program director, it can't be anyone that's funded by the district. And that, again, is going to be someone who has a student currently enrolled in the EL program. When you have a BPAC, you want to make sure that the languages that are spoken in the district are represented by the parents and the guardians that are in the BPAC. And then your responsibility in that BPAC as a parent is to help participate in the planning, operation, and evaluation of the EL program in the district. And we'll get into that a little bit later, what that means. Okay, you can go to the next slide. So, these are the things that are in Illinois state law. These are the things that must happen by law. And like Dr. Ayala said, if these are not happening, please speak up, talk to the school principal, talk to the program director, talk to the superintendent, whoever it is you need to talk to. So, you must meet at least 4 times per year. A lot of times these are scheduled to go over training and bylaws and voting and then going over some grants. Minutes of every meeting that you have need to be on record, and then you need to keep them on file with the district. You're going to review the district's annual program applications. So these are shorthand for different grants that your school district is applying for to get money and funding for specifically your EL program. We've got a BSP, EL, EBF, Title III. We'll go through these on the next slide a little bit more too. Then this word has gone back and forth on our team recently, but you must autonomously carry this out. What that means is you need to be in charge as a parent of the other parents, basically the compadres and the comadres need to be in charge. You don't want your program director running your BPAC. You want to have a say for your kids. You want to have your voice. You want to be the one that's there speaking out for them. So that would mean that you need to run the election, right, of the officers. You need to establish the internal rules and the guidelines and procedures. And procedures would be as easy as you're bringing snacks this time, you're going to do roll call, you're going to take attendance, and you're going to take minutes. Make sense? Next slide. All right, so BPAC training, you have to be provided training each year. And again, it must be available in all languages that are represented in the BPAC. And then next slide. The training itself has to include information about how students in the bilingual or EL program are being taught. So that's the instructional approaches and methods. The laws related to your child's participation in the bilingual program, why they were placed in that program, how long they're placed in the program. And then your rights as parents to visit the classroom, to see how the program is working, if you would like to have them removed from the program, anything like that. And lastly, the accountability measures are basically making sure that every student is being offered the same opportunity as every other student. So whether they're learning English or not. Next slide. This was my partner's slide. Can you believe come on. So all the information is on here. So we have three kind of main things that are the responsibility of the BPAC to review with their program director and the school staff. The first is the bilingual service plan. This is gonna basically provide the state, we will review this and we get a good understanding of how many students there are that are learning English in the district and how many staff they are providing to support those students. That's really what we're looking for there, and then basically the professional development that that staff is receiving for that year. EBF is fairly new. It was enacted in 2017, and that's better to equitably basically distribute funds to schools in different socioeconomic areas. So the schools that need it the most are getting the most. This is something you want to review. You have access to this, you can see this, you want to make sure you know where the funding is going. And then funds for the EL students are allocated based on the district's reporting to the state. That's the other thing you can check on, just make sure that they're reporting the EL students, the number of EL students, the number of teachers that they have that they're supporting with their funding. And last is the Title III. This is what the department that I work in deals a lot with. These are the funds that you can actually use to bring in, and we'll talk about this a little more, the trainer to train you on things if you want, or the transportation to get you to the Bilingual Parent Summit, or da-da-da-da-da-da. There are a lot of opportunities that you have with the Title III LIEP, and you have a say in where that money goes when you're planning with the BPAC. Next slide, please. All right. The BPAC is responsible to review the district's planning for the EL programming each year. And again, this is the bilingual service plan. This normally comes out in the fall. This is a little iffy on the exact date when it comes out, but be looking for it in the fall, because what we're looking for is your district to give us numbers based on enrollment for that year. And then we want to look at what their plan is for the rest of the year. And the EL evidence-based funding spending plan is actually in law. This is due every year on September 30. So make sure you're hearing about it and seeing it before that date. Next slide. All right, so these resources are just some of the things that we've seen across the state that are working. Again, Dr. Ayala, I just want to reiterate what she said, network. Talk to those districts where you know the BPAC is strong and it's working well, successfully. Find out what they're doing. So some of the things that we've seen is using social media. Having a group on Facebook, something like that really helps, especially when you have parents, I've found, when you have parents that are working different shifts, it's really hard to communicate unless you have a place where you can all communicate together. Email, texting, but social media seems to be a really great place to house this. You can send communication home from school. A lot of schools use Class Dojo. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. I believe a parent can get on there and talk to other parents. Remind is another app that's free, and you can blast out different messages in different languages, and it will translate for you. And then if you're lucky enough to have a parent liaison in your district, use your parent liaison as best you can, and they can build different relationships and bonds in your community. They know where people live, they know where people work. Make sure that you get them involved in getting people involved in the BPAC. Then keeping parents engaged. These are some other great things that we've seen. Plan events with childcare available. You can go to the high school and ask the bilingual students in the high school to babysit. They're pretty willing, depending on where you're at, if you're not their parent asking. But absolutely, yes, absolutely. Work with the administrators in the school, but it absolutely can, yes. As the question was, does that count as like their community service hours? Thank you. And yes, that absolutely can. Work with, I think it's the guidance counselors you would probably have to work with in the high school just to make sure. Also think about planning virtual events. If you don't have Zoom, see if there's another virtual platform that you could possibly use live. Provide regular training. I think of things, above and beyond. So if you want to do the required training and then think of some more training and just make it something that's quarterly. So people are just expecting it and then it's just in their calendar. This one is a big one. Make sure there's food. Everyone loves to come when there's food. We found that is really successful when you're trying to have an event. And then the Title III funds you can use, and again, talk with your program director about this because they have to submit this through the state. You can bring in guest speakers. So if you'd like to bring in a guest speaker that would speak on a particular topic, where you could bring in parents from the entire community, you could use Title III funds to do that. You can also use Title III funds to have different cultural events. So cultural events that probably most likely would be the most popular would be ones that are represented in your district. So you could have one for each different culture that's represented. You could have one night where you have a bunch of different people come together and do things similar to like what the dancers are doing today, having different types of food, any kind of performances like that. I saw a hand. Title I and Title III are two different grants. Yes. Oof, that's confusing stuff. We won't go into that. So this is what I have for parent resources. And again, network with people that you have today. Next slide. The couple of things that we've seen too that are working for hybrid BPAC. Post-COVID, maybe we're there, possibly. But some people still would like to have that flexibility of being at home while this is happening. So like I said before, maybe live stream something. If you have a Zoom account, if the school has a Zoom account, if they use Google Teams or Google Meetings, anything like that, you can ask your principal at the school if you can use it, or you could use your student's account. You can ask how you can get a virtual meeting put together. The other thought was record your regular meeting like you have it on Zoom like we're doing today, and then post it on your district channel on YouTube, or create a BPAC channel on YouTube. And then if you've got those parents who maybe don't have childcare that night, they can watch it tomorrow and they can still be involved. You can keep them engaged. Next slide. All right, and that was what I had. We actually are having this presentation given in 4 different languages today. I am the English presenter. Jay, who is here with me, will be the Spanish presenter. Polish presenter is in a different room. That'll happen this afternoon, and then Arabic is happening right now. The 4 of us are ready and willing to talk to you whenever you'd like. This is our contact information at ISB, and just wanted to say a special happy Mother's Day. Feliz Dia de la Madre. Yay. Thanks, moms, for all you do. And then I'll check in here. I'll just see if there are any questions in the Zoom first. What's up? I'm on it right here. Okay, there is no link to share the slides in the Zoom chat. This is being recorded and will be available. I'm not sure if the presentation will be available on the IRC website, but they have done that before if you want to refer back to it. I didn't see any questions in the chat on Zoom. Did anyone have any questions in the room? Yeah.
You said the 20 student minimum across the district or in one school building?
It's the district, yeah. I'm just confirming.
Sorry,
It's the district. It's 20 students in the district. Yeah. I'm getting it confused with another regulation, which is if you have 20 students in a school, you have to have bilingual education basically in that school.
The bilingual education is based on 20 students per building. But to make a BPAC, 20 students
District.
throughout the entire district, no matter how big.
Correct. Correct. So the question was, is it 20 students across the district that there is a regulation that you have to have a BPAC? And it is if there are 20 students who speak the same language at home and require an English learner program, That's the other thing. Then you need 20 students within the district to have a BPAC, and a BPAC is required then.
My second question, can I go next?
Yeah.
Is how many minimum do you need to be part of to create the BPAC? Besides the chairperson that has to be a parent, how many is the minimum number that you have to sustain? Because sometimes there's a inconsistent participation or some people drop out. How many is the basic?
Oh, to sustain, okay. So the question is there a minimum number to have the BPAC basically be active?
Yes.
And there isn't anything in rules and regulations that say that, other than it must be mostly made of parents. Yeah. Sure, yeah. Sorry, gentleman in the second row.
Thank you. So you spoke to the idea that the BPACs and the regulations and statutes speak to the idea there's a planning, operation, and evaluation of the program that's supposed to be ongoing between the BPAC and the district.
Mm-hmm.
Practically speaking, what should that look like? How much engagement should a BPAC have in evaluating the program over the course of the year and giving their input based on parent feedback and participation of parent and community partners in, really shaping that program so it's serving the need of the students of the program?
Okay, I'm gonna paraphrase your question and see if I got it. Okay, so basically what you're asking is, what does it look like practically for the BPAC to help with the creation, evaluation, and basically sustaining of the EL program? Okay. And I don't wanna say practically, I wanna say ideally. So ideally, you're meeting regularly with your program director, and you're planning out the program based on what they understand about education and what they've learned, and the degrees that they have and all that. They should be the expert in what this looks like. You have every right to do your own research and come up next to them with the same information, and plan from there. I think probably the evaluation of the program is what is the hardest, because I'm not sure program directors necessarily have the vocabulary to share with parents what the access scores mean, if that helps. So your kids are taking access every year, and that's basically telling you how much English they have acquired, right, over that year. And so that's a test that looks at their reading, writing, listening, and speaking. That's where you would evaluate the success of the program. So that's the thing where I would say that's probably the rub, where it's hard to understand what that means, but there's a lot of information that can be given to you, so it's easier to understand. Yes?
So in addition to that, right, there are BPACs that do just that, right?
Mhm.
They'll engage with their parents, they'll teach them what is access, why is it required, what do the scores actually mean, so that parents can then become thought partners in evaluating the program and saying, how can we grow, do we need more teachers, and really having a conversation from a different perspective outside of administration. So it's really a matter of what relationship does your school district want to have with the BPAC, and do your parents, are they seeking that information? Do they want to know more about the intricacies of what a program actually looks like? Do they want to provide feedback in terms of what cultural events can they provide? So I really would say it's subjective in that nature, but personally speaking, I think it's important to incorporate your parents into your program in any way that you would in any other program in your school.
And we're not limited just to access evaluation.
No.
It should be much more holistic in the sense
Correct.
that we're looking at academic achievement more broadly.
Correct.
Academic achievement gap that exists. So when we're talking about evaluation, I respect the focus on access.
Mhm.
It should be much broader in the sense that we're trying to ensure that our students have the best educational opportunity.
Absolutely, yeah. So the focus is definitely on access for the English learner program, right? But yes, a holistic view is definitely what the district should be taking when they're looking at this. But you want to make sure that their data is disaggregated, so you are seeing what is happening in that program. Yeah, yeah. I'm going to take somebody from the side. Yes.
A comment and a question.
Mm-hmm.
Along the lines of the last question, I think what would be really powerful at a gathering like this is many more sessions where ISB and other subject matter experts are really doing that parent level training about academic achievement, about best practices and staffing levels, about instructional methods that are appropriate. This session I've seen seen it, right? Like, and I've seen that line about we should be evaluating these programs, but I haven't, from anybody at my district or here, received the actual support
Okay.
in doing that evaluation in a way that's powerful. That's what ISB needs to be doing.
That's excellent.
Can I piggyback off of that, as a program director, I think it's hard to make it autonomous for the parents when they don't have that information. So then it goes back to the director to put forth all of this information, and then it's kind of like the parents aren't deciding because it's led based on the information that they receive from the school district without this proper training.
Right.
So how do they know which method should be used for the service plan of, we have X amount of students and X amount of teachers? How do they know efficiently what is needed in order to even put forth the information for those grants to get the things that they need? So
Sure.
I agree with that. Something that's more in-depth training to help the BPAC be autonomous is needed.
If I
Yeah.
can quickly jump
Yeah.
in. The great thing about this conference is that ISB partners with the IRC, and really our perspective is to bring in more parents into the conversation. And so I will
It's the
just,
wrong conversation.
I will just highlight that the BPAC of East Aurora is here to present on some of the topics you really touched on. How did they go about creating their program, and what are methods that they use to empower their parents? I don't know what time their session is at, but it's in your program. Again, if you go to the East Aurora BPAC session, they really touch on that of what ways can parents, from whatever level they're at of knowledge of the program, actually gain and become empowered to further strengthen their BPAC.
It
Yeah.
should be the majority of the sessions, not one among 20.
Valuable feedback. We appreciate it. I just want to repeat for the people that are online and maybe didn't hear that we have one participant requesting more information on what it looks like to get the training for BPAC. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, I'm mad at the bill. I wanted to ask, like, as a parent, what's the administrator's roles, what are parents' roles? So that's kind of what you're leading to, right?
Yeah.
We want to know what us as parents, our roles are, because I noticed on there, you said there's a lot of, it should be more parent-oriented, but where do administrators come in and where do us as parents come
Right.
in?
Right.
How do we collaborate, and who has the majority of the role in the BPAC?
I'm going to say something very unpopular. And as the state, I'm not allowed to give recommendations. So I have lots of ideas, that I can share, but I can't say this is what you should do and this is what you shouldn't do. Yeah. And so within the regulations, it's not basically spelled out. So it's what works the best for your students and for your district. Yeah.
As a district level administrator, I think, and having worked with bilingual families for many years now and having presented at this conference, I can say that what I've seen work best is that collaborative relationship between whoever's in charge at the district level and just starting the conversations and asking to just learn more and understand, and then determining how you can step by step begin to grow the BPAC, because as parents, you have other jobs and you are doing other things and you're raising children, and we're the ones that have the expertise educationally. So if we partner together, that's been really effective in building an effective BPAC. But it takes several years to do that, because as parents, you're learning. Like this parent asked, is Title III different than Title I? Yes, it is different than, Title III is our bilingual and EL programming. But you don't know that right away. So just partnering together and just having that open dialogue about it. Some district administrators, they may get defensive, but just ensure to them that you're just wanting to learn and support your children, and you want to be involved and support your children and advocate for other children as well. And I think just starting that relationship, in my experience, has been the best way to go about that. And just know it's like a 3 to 5 year process. Like what you learn today isn't something that you can immediately put in place tomorrow. It's going to be, as we say in Spanish, poco a poco, right? It's little by little. You just make steps to partner together to build that relationship and build the BPAC group.
Yeah. So just for those of you that are online, basically, if I can paraphrase, a good relationship is important to a good BPAC. between the school and the, yeah, okay. There is one question on Zoom I just want to bring up. It was mentioned that BPAC for the EL program is for the EL program only. Is DL dual language program considered as part of the BPAC as well? As long as there are English learners in that dual language program, and there are 20 of them, and they speak the same language at home, yes, the BPAC is required, yes.
What was the session that you were talking about?
It's led by the BPAC from East Aurora School District.
No, I think you're confused. I don't think it's for District 131. It's for 299.
Oh, I'm sorry.
299.
Gracias.
Yes, yeah, because we are from District 131.
I'm told it's the next session in where? In Sugar Maple Room. Okay. Discúlpeme.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, a few questions. Could you go back to the slide about measures? It was maybe third or fourth slide or something like that. You said the district must provide training in methods, laws, rights, and measures for accountability.
Oh, okay. Keep going forward, I think it's training.
That's actually your partner's slide, I think.
Yes, the next one. There we go.
Accountability measures. What are the accountability measures?
Yeah, right. So what are the accountability measures that would be relevant to the students in the bilingual program? So that would be the access testing and the access scores that we were talking about before. There is another metric that the state uses that's called ELPTP, which is English Learner Progress to Proficiency. I don't know how often you would come in contact with that, but that is something that you could ask about. But basically, you want to make sure that your students are getting the same opportunities as any other student in the district. Yeah.
Yes, I do have a question about, that you were saying, during this pandemic, we will have like our BPAC meetings, virtual or hybrids. And we've been doing it virtual for kind of like every other month.
Mm-hmm.
And there was something, we have some parents that they wanted to record those meetings. And we bring it out to our school district officials, so that the program director, they were saying that, that's not available. They couldn't do that.
Hmm.
And now that I'm listening and hearing this, is like, is there any way that as a BPAC, I'm the BPAC president and she's the vice president for the BPAC, and like they're not listening to us. So is there any way that we can say like, okay, maybe we need to take this to the board meeting instead of like the school officials, because some parents, they wanna be, they want to have access to this, and it's like, okay, maybe we can record it, but when they say no, we cannot do it.
Yeah, I would suggest, okay, sorry. So the question is, for the BPAC meetings, they want to be recorded, but the program director is coming back and saying you can't record it?
Yes.
Okay. I would go with whatever your district's procedure is for elevating that. Yeah, if you feel like you're not being heard. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I had a question about BPAC members. If your parent liaisons are also parents of the school district, could they be chair people or?
Oh, that's a really good question. Go ahead.
So, again, the BPAC is going to determine its bylaws, and again, you're working with the members that you have, in addition to consulting with your school district officials. Again, what the regulation and law requires is what Penny just shared here, but if you and your organization decide to perhaps have a situation where a parent liaison is also a parent of someone in, a student in BPAC, you could outline that in your procedures, right? You can look to other BPACs that perhaps have a similar situation and how to handle it. Speaking off the cuff, right, whether they are voting members or perhaps they are members but they can't vote, and whatever you end up deciding, again, that's for you and your BPAC to go about talking through those discussions and outlining them in the bylaws.
Yeah. So the question was if someone on staff is also, so if the parent liaison is also part of the BPAC, can they be the chairperson? And really, the BPAC gets to decide. Yes. I can't see it from the light.
Are we allowed to get the information, every email of those child's parents' name, that we
It's only the coordinator's name that she hides everybody else. But when I go up to the parents and I say, give me the names,
Okay,
I'm able to send 100 emails, and they're like, well, I knew because you told me,
got it.
but I didn't get to
Did you
them.
want to answer?
So that's one. Okay, the other thing is, are we allowed to go into the school to see these evaluations? Because I've never seen it. I don't know what it is. All I get is a paper. I don't understand the paper. Are we supposed to get a debriefing from this person, coordinator, to tell us exactly what's in those papers? The other thing is a coordinator supposed to only be in the school twice, and we share her with somebody else's school? Is that enough time to evaluate, make a paper, do the documentation, and then go to another school and do the same thing for other schools? When it's about maybe 200 kids in our school that she's doing that? Sharing, is that a good idea or a bad idea? Because I don't think it's, I don't really see the information going through. The other thing is
Whoa.
the parents do not
I'm not going to remember.
If parents do not speak English,
Mhm.
how are we helping them when they come out of the building saying, oh, they didn't want to see it because there's no translator? Who is responsible for that? Because as I was sitting next to the chair, the school chair, 1 second, go back into the school. So, things like that, I mean, we're advocates for all of the
Mhm.
kids and for the parents. I'm not born in Mexico, I'm born here, but there's a different light. I try to bring my education to those parents that don't
Mhm.
have that kind of help. But again, I have a hard time with them because they don't trust yet. Eventually they trust, and I become their advocate and speak English because I'm an educator. And when the teachers and the staff do not participate with me, I'm like, excuse me, we both are in the College of Education, you're in the education, and I'm in the College of Business. But we have something in common, which is communication.
Mhm.
So let's communicate, to not put a number on our child and put a name to it.
Mhm.
Those are
Mhm.
the kind of things that I want to know, and those are things that we can do as parents and advocate that.
Sure. I'll go with the last question first, and that's if a parent goes into a building and they're told there's no interpretation, there's no translation available for you, that is not allowable. The district must provide interpretation or translation for parents that come in, especially if it's their first time and the home language survey is given to them. It needs to be given to them in their native language. What was the next one?
So I'm going to say this, and this addresses a few of the questions that you had. Again, our perspective, let me back. We spoke about empowering our parents and letting them know about how not only bilingual programming works, but at the end of the day, we want our parents, be them EL parents or all parents, to be aware of how school systems work. So within a school system, right, there are different people who have different responsibilities. A parent can only do so much, an administrator can do so much, a school board member can do so much. So in order to really understand how you go about effecting change, a parent has to be informed about what can they advocate for, what do they need to partner with administrators in order to advocate for, or perhaps what do they need to come together and go to a school board meeting and advocate for that. So when it comes to a specific coordinator, if you're being shared with another district, at the end of the day, you have to come together and advocate for what you believe is right at your school board meeting. And we will add, again, from our perspective, the laws and regulations that were presented here, right, are ultimately interpreted at the school level, but there's only so much that we as the state board members can do because of something that's called local control. Each school district, that's why they have a school board, to determine what is the best programming for their community, for their district, and that's why it's important and imperative for parents to be empowered enough to go and speak at school board meetings, to go about and talking about the things that you just mentioned today.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to be in the room to observe what they're doing as that paper is being filled out, the form, what they're really doing with the kids? Because all I hear is that the kids are speaking out of the room and spoken to, but what are they really doing for them? How are these scores getting higher or not? What's the change? Because in my community, I only hear the parents complaining, and because they don't know how to do the math, they don't know how to read the math,
Well, I need to first ask, are you talking about when they assess a student and how much they know in English, or are you talking about assessing a student and their academics?
Well, the coordinator is there to help out the student, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what exactly does that mean?
Okay.
And can I actually go in to see that progress going? Because then I don't know what to advocate that, is this coordinator doing what she needs to do, or is she just penciling in what needs to be done?
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
How do we know as parents? Because I still see a lot of parents complaining, because they come to me, because I have to translate to them. They come to me and they're like, I don't see my kid growing. I keep hearing the complaints and I keep hearing the problems.
Mm-hmm.
These are parents that are never gonna help the child. I mean, I told this already. They're never gonna help the child because they don't even understand the language. They will not even touch the book because they're lost. If you didn't
Sure.
find your child from kindergarten and on, you are lost. Because I did the kindergarten, and I'm all the way to 7th grade now, and I understand the algebra because of that. If you're a parent and you can do that,
Good for you.
you're lost. I'm sorry, but that's why that's my
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's different. Now these parents can't help their kids. So how are they helping them grow? Because I don't see growth. I say, well, it is growth, but it's like, it isn't happening. It really is. It's just that.
Right. So I just want to say that your district, your family, your kids, your students, they're all lucky to have you. So thank you for doing what you're doing for them. And then you should receive a letter as like your parent notification letter from your district when your student is placed into an English learner program that should tell you that you have the right to come and visit the classroom. You do have to go through the procedures that the district has set up for that, but you are definitely welcome to do that. Does that answer your question? Okay. Yes.
I think I have just one more.
Oh, sorry.
I have one of just like a comment.
Yes.
So I'm the parent liaison in District 98. I came from Morgan 201. And I think that as far as like when you talk about training,
Mm-hmm.
I think that in that training, maybe at the beginning of every school year, you know, the director who's in charge of BPAC along with the other members, the first training would be to let parents or educate parents on, you know, just like what she said, on what happens when they're first enrolled and, you know, what can the parents do and what they cannot do.
Mm.
Because I think that if, you know, you have that communication and you keep them informed in the beginning, then throughout the year they know what they're looking at, and then they're more equipped to ask for certain things, or to fight for certain things, or push for certain things, if they're educated right away in the beginning.
Mm.
So I think that when I see training, like I'm taking this in, right? Because we do lots of workshops for parents throughout the year. Training per se, I don't know that I saw too much of that.
Mm.
Workshops to educate on certain things, yes. But to educate the parent on what, you know, BPAC is,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, the programs and or the testing and stuff like that, I don't think the parents know any of that. So I'm taking this in, and that's gonna be one of my goals for this coming school year, is to educate the parents right away. Hey, this is our BPAC program, this is what it's about, this is what you can learn from it, this is what you could bring to the
Mhm.
district to help your child and all the students in the district. So.
Okay.
thanks.
Yeah, for those of you that are online, basically saying that training the parents on what their rights are and basically what their students' rights are right at the beginning helps the parents feel more confident to interact with the district. And you said one more question? We have time for one more question. Oh my gosh. How do I choose? Far left. He chose for me.
So my question is about trainings and like capacitación, like for padres. I can tell the BPAC about the program and about how we're spending money and what access scores look like and assess our data, but like what you said about writing bylaws or running an election, these are the kind of trainings I'm curious, where are the resources
Sure.
And I believe that it's the main issue, why the BPAC group cannot run by itself. Yes. Because since we're not sure how to do it, the people in charge of the district, director, whoever, oversee the BPAC run us instead of us running our own
Right.
organization.
Who applies for the grants? You show us like the grants or the resources. Who applies those?
The district staff, yes, the district staff, yeah. So the comment, and I hear you. If I could take off my state hat, I would. But you can email me. Absolutely, take a photo, that's my address. But what I'm hearing actually from the state is that we have a huge gap in our resources for you to actually help the BPAC become autonomous. And trust me, we have talked about this in our department. So I do hear you. I will bring this back to my director as a big glaring gap that we have, and I love making training, so maybe I'll make something for you. And I'm sorry, I think we are out of time. Yeah. But please, feel free, email us, contact us. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.